Then economic life, how the economy was controlled. As already we are discussing in these parts, the previous parts, the system was very expensive for the maintenance of the army, for the payment of the officials, the salaried officials. So how the economy was generated? Trade and industry was the next main occupation of the people. After this, in the social life, what we saw that most of the people, they were doing the farming or they were from the peasantry class. Next to this, the peasantry, they have the trade and business. Both inland and overseas trade were significant. Weights and measures were standardized. This is the most important thing. The standard weight and measurement system was followed. So throughout the country, the same weight and system, if a kilo is having 1000 gram in northern India, the same way it is in the southern India. If we talk about that, the measurement of the fabric, the cloth, the same way it is there. If 100 centimeter is equal to 1 meter, then throughout the country it is 100 centimeter is equal to 1 meter. So this way it was both inland and overseas trade were very significant, and the standard weights and measurement system was followed. Textiles, wooden and the ivory objects, as the elephants in the forest were very common. So the ivory, the tusk, the elephant tusk. Then perfumes, jewelry from semi-precious stones and shining black pottery were some of the items bought and sold. So these are all the important things: perfumes, jewelry and the semi-precious stones. These were the main items and the commodities for the trade and business. The Mauryan had commercial ties with Greek kingdoms of Central Asia. These Greek kingdoms, Greece was the land over there, and the Mauryans, they have a trade relation with the Greek of Central Asia and as well as in the Middle East. Middle East means that then in the middle part of the central part of the Asia, but towards the eastward direction, not in the westward, not this side. On the map, if we see that, it is towards the right hand side, not the left hand side. Left hand side it is west, right hand side it is east. Overland trade with West Asia primarily passed through the cities in the northwest. The Mauryas built a royal highway. This is very important even nowadays also. This is the royal highway from Takshila, both the way spelling is correct, to Patliputra. And this road was rebuilt over a period of time and today serves as the Grand Trunk Road in our country. So this way, what makes this kingdom and the king as a great, this was the contribution of the King Ashoka to the country as a ruler of the vast empire, and how well organized administration was there. All these the facts we are getting either from book Indica or from Arthashastra. Indica written by Megasthenes. He was an ambassador in the Seleucus Nicator, and Seleucus Nicator was the chief of the army in the Alexander's court. Then it comes about that his warfare means what, that the Ashoka's warfare. The turning point of Ashoka's life was his conquest of Kalinga. Already we read in the previous part, this expansion of the empire was done by Chandragupta as well as by Bindusar, but this Kalinga was not been conquered by both the rulers. So now it was a challenge for King Ashoka to conquer this land. Kalinga was a very powerful kingdom at the center of important trade and pilgrimage route, as it is on the coast of Bay of Bengal, and it was a very important trade route as well as the pilgrimage route. Therefore, conquering Kalinga was of great importance. So this was the main reason behind it, to conquer the Kalinga, as it was a very important city or important part of our territory. So Kalinga had been annexed by the Nandas earlier, but regained its independence very quickly. During the rule of the Nanda dynasty, was the Nanda rulers they conquered. Annexation was done. But very soon this kingdom has declared itself as an independent kingdom. Bindusar tried to capture it, but he failed. For Ashoka, possession of Kalinga became very essential. So what the facts he has collected, the story he has collected about Kalinga, so he has now started thinking to get the possession over Kalinga is very important. The conquest of this kingdom was bloody and many thousands of soldiers and the common people were killed. So this was the result of the battle or the war of Kalinga. Thousands of soldiers, many thousands, even though the common people were also killed in this battle. The sight of the battlefield filled him. This is now the sight of the battlefield filled Ashoka with horror and dismay. He was shocked what he had done. When he was standing in the battlefield and when he observed the human were killed, the slaughter actually. So he was he was in the horror and dismay, shocked. And then he started thinking what he has done. He vowed never to wage war again. Then now what he has taken the oath. He has given up, he has surrendered that he will never wage for a war. He will never go for a war again in his future. And very soon after this, the victory over Kalinga, he became a Buddhist. And he adopted the policy of ahimsa, that is non-violence. To become a Buddhist and adopted the policy of ahimsa, he has become very famous with that. He has given up the war. So this was a drastic change came in the life of King Ashoka. This is the war of battlefield of Kalinga. This is King Ashoka in the battlefield. Battlefield of and this is the figure of Ashoka. After this, the battle of Kalinga, this King Ashoka became a Buddhist. Now he is in one of the Buddhist monastery and he has declared himself as a Buddhist. Followed the path of Buddhism, followed the path of ahimsa, not to wage for a war. Then it comes about that the religion and the religious centers, how he has developed about that. Although we can simply say that he means a follower of secularism. Ashoka fought the Kalinga war in 261 BC, after which Ashoka became a Buddhist. He sent his son and daughter to Sri Lanka for the spread of Buddhism. Mahendra, his son Mahendra and daughter Sangamitra. Ashoka carved his policy of Dhamma. It is in Prakrit language, might be, it is Dharma. A person's duty. What is his Dhamma? According to him, what he says about Dhamma? A person's duty to live according to certain religious and social code. Now he explained about that Dhamma, what actually he wanted. Now he is insisting that it is the person's duty, it is our duty, being a human, to live according to certain religious and the social code. Means in our life we have to follow some of the things, the facts, the law, according to the society, according to the religion. Emperor Ashoka believed that it was his moral duty to teach his subjects to follow the path of Dhamma. Now, it was as an emperor, he thought that it is his moral duty to teach his subjects whatever it is related to his empire, his territorial area, to give this message to his citizens or the people living in his territorial boundary to follow the path of Dhamma. What were the reason behind it? Why his adoption of Dhamma were? What he tried to tell the people about his Dhamma? So the Mauryan Empire had people from different religions. What it is that? Certain religious and the social code. In his, this king Ashoka was ruling a very vast territory. So the different religious group of the people, they are living in his territorial area, in his empire. So what happened? Sometimes there were conflicts among the different religious groups. People sacrificed animals, which was a sign of violence. People lacked manners and misbehaved with elders. They treated people from lower varnas as slaves. Lower varnas means the Shudras. They did not get a respectable life in the society. They were ill-treated by the higher caste people. So there were regular conflicts among the families and the neighbors, giving rise to unpleasant conditions. These are all the very common thing in the society, which was practiced by the people. There are various inscriptions and edicts through which Ashoka explained some of the basic principles of Dhamma. So what Ashoka did, he has started writing the inscriptions, his edicts, his laws, his views. And in those edicts, it is explained, the Ashoka tried to explain about his Dhamma. Means how to give respect to elders. So now it comes about that, what is actually Dhamma? What is it? So what he wanted to teach his citizens about the obedience to parents. This is the Ashoka's view. Obedience to parents, elders, teachers and respectable people. Respectable people like the teachers, the priests. Proper treatment of ascetics. Whosoever is leading the life of the ascetics, we must have to give respect to them, proper treatment with them. We should have to treat poor also as equal. Then lower varna people also, they deserve some type of the dignity. Who they are the dependents, they are not supposed to be tortured. Acquaintances and the companions, all they need, all they deserve respect. And being a human, it is our moral duty. Then abstinence from killing or injuring for any living organism. Already in the Buddhism and Jainism also, it is the ideology and the philosophy. So we cannot kill or injure any of the things, any of the living organism. Slaughtering is prohibited. Accumulating and spending little wealth, truth and morality. Accumulation of wealth is not required for the life. And spending little wealth. Then be truth and the moral. These all are the principles of Ashoka about his Dhamma. This is the Ashokan pillar at Vaishali. It is in Bihar. Then it comes about that the Ashoka's propagation of Dhamma. Transmission. How to spread the message. This is the spread of propagation, means the spread of message. Transmission. How to transmit this philosophy of Dhamma, which has been given by Ashoka. He engraved the principles of Dhamma on rocks and pillars. There were 14 rock edicts and the 7 pillar edicts in total. In this way, Ashoka directly communicated with his subjects to ask them to follow the path of Dhamma. Why these rock edicts and the pillars were been installed with that the edicts of Dhamma, Ashoka's Dhamma, means that the common people, the ordinary people, whenever they pass through it, they must have to read it and to follow the policy and the path of Dhamma. All these inscriptions were in Prakrit, the local language. Now the Ashoka, he did not follow the Sanskrit language, which was very difficult to understand by the common people, as they were not in touch of the Sanskrit language. It was not a common language. It was read and understood by the priestly class as well as the Kshatriyas only. So he has written his all the inscriptions in Prakrit language. So everyone who can read, who can write, can study this. He appointed Dhamma Mahamattas. This was the most important thing which has been introduced by King Ashoka. Dhamma Mahamattas, a special cadre of officials. These officials are appointed to supervise proper propagation. Proper means the message about the religion, whether it is properly transmitted or not, given or not, about Dhamma, and subsequent welfare of the people. So the people cannot be misguided. They used to read and explain the edicts. This is what the work done by these special officials. They used to read and explain the edicts to the people who were not able to read or write. So this was the work done by these special officers. They were known as Dhamma Mahamattas. He sent messengers to several other countries like Sri Lanka, Egypt, Greece, to spread Dhamma. His idea of Dhamma to be spread in all these countries of the world. He also sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sangmitra to Sri Lanka for the same purpose. Both of his children went to Sri Lanka to spread the message about Dhamma, for the propagation of Dhamma. This is the edicts of Ashoka. Then Ashoka's contribution in the art and architecture. In entire field which is related to our day-to-day life, he has given some of that the exceptional thing and considered as his achievement. Wood was the main building material for the royal palaces. This is the wood. Walls were decorated with the detailed carvings and sculptures. Stone pillars were erected during the Mauryan times to demonstrate the victory in the battles. Ashoka's pillar at Sarnath, Ashoka's pillar at Vaishali. Just now I showed you. In the previous slide it was there. So they have to make the stone pillars and erected during the Mauryan times to demonstrate the victory in the battles. Whatever the battle they win, the land which is conquered, whenever they became victorious, they have to construct, they have to make a stone pillars. Sarnath pillar in Varanasi and the Loria Nandangarh pillar in Champaran are the great examples. This is the Sarnath pillar and this is the Nandangarh. It is in Champaran. Already it is written over here Sarnath. After the victory they have been constructed. This is about the art and architecture. So Loria Nandangarh pillar, it is in Champaran, are great examples. Numerous stupas were built during the Ashoka's period. And during his reign, many of the stupas were built. When he became a Buddhist, the stupas were being constructed to spread the message about his Buddhism. On the ideology, what is the ideology and the theory of Buddhism? Ahimsa, non-violence. The famous one being is the Sachi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh and other at the Piprahwa Stupa in Uttar Pradesh. Now we are coming to, this is the Sanchi Stupa. Best quoted example, still it is having over there in Madhya Pradesh and of great importance for the Buddhism. The people who they are the followers of Buddhism. Then it comes about the literature. What it says about the literature? Indica. Both the way spelling is correct. You may get like this also, you may get like this also. Megasthenes are great ambassador. This is the Megasthenes, the picture of Megasthenes. He was a Greek ambassador, stayed at Chandragupta's court at Patliputra for several years. And he wrote a book called Indica, in which he described about the city Patliputra and praised the city that it was the most beautiful city in the east. In the eastern part of India, this is the most important city and very beautiful city. He also described about the life during the Mauryan times. Life during means that inclusion of that the king emperor as well as the ordinary people, about the army, about the other officials in the Mauryan court. Next is about the Arthashastra. This is the picture of Kautilya. Arthashastra, Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, was one of the closest advisor of Chandragupta Maurya. He has written a book called Arthashastra. It is one of the greatest collections of observations and manuals on economics, politics, foreign affairs, administration, and warfare. These are the topics. All these topics were covered in this book, Arthashastra. He has written about all these the facts, how a kingdom or an empire to be run. What will the political system, what is the economy of a empire, how they have to develop the foreign relations, how to run the day-to-day administration, how to plan for a warfare, how to win the battles. Entire thing is explained by Chanakya, by Kautilya in his book Arthashastra. Then the most important thing, how the greatest empire, what were the reason behind it? Why this greatest empire declined? What is the reason behind it? Downfall of the empire. Ashoka was succeeded by a progression of weak rulers. After Ashoka, that the rulers were very weak. They were not ready to control the huge domain. The entire Indian territorial boundary were ruled by the one ruler, and his successor, they refused to do so. The governors of the far-off territories exploited these circumstances and pronounced freedom. Pronounced means they have declared themselves as a king, as a ruler of that particular provinces. The organization crumbled and streets were disregarded, and influencing exchange and correspondence between the various areas. Means that they have now not corresponding also with the different areas, as they have declared themselves as an independent ruler, whosoever were governors during the period of King Ashoka. Loss of income made it hard to keep up an extensive armed forces. So the king and the ruler who is sitting at the center, they faced the lots of the financial problem, as they were not getting the enough amount collected and sent by the governors. To maintain this, the vast army and the large army become very difficult for these rulers. The officers would have plainly degenerate, which influenced the whole managerial framework. So this way, this is the main reason behind it of the decline of the Ashokan Empire, the Mauryan Empire. The vast territorial area, the work which was done by Chandragupta Maurya with the establishment of the Mauryan dynasty after the defeating of the last Nanda ruler, established one of the vastest empire in India, and it was the first one which they have started ruling this last territorial boundary. But after this, the king Ashoka, they suffered a lot under the hands of the Greek rule. So this is all about the chapter.